Hi, this is Jonathan. Welcome back to Ethics TV. And today I have a conversation with Xiaochen, who is joining me from across the world and not based on the galaxy behind his head on the screen, as you'll see, but in the description to this episode, you'll have his very full bio. And Xiaochen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
So I always like to start with a kind of a general question of what's keeping you busy right now, what's keeping you most active, and let's go from there. So what's going on for you right now?
I mostly spend my time to just build AI 2030's community, where that's within the last 12 months, and then we grow the responsible AI expert community from zero to over 1,000. And many of us care about AI, care about responsible research development and use of AI, and it's a very vibrant community and who really have a lot to offer. And definitely, as a leading this group, and we have a lot of goals and we set for ourselves, and then within the next 12 months how we can continue to grow the membership, how we can just empower many more to take on responsible AI leadership, and through their AI, responsible AI leadership, how we can really help to shape the future of AI. And I think that's a big mission, and that's just take away off all my time. Yeah.
I'm not surprised it's taking up all your time. Do you feel that one of the biggest kind of challenges in that mission are there challenges in terms of convincing people that ethical technology is needed, or are there challenges in maybe in the larger organizations who might have different objectives? What are you finding the prickliest, hardest parts to handle?
Yeah, there are all sorts of challenge, and then some we can address, others we can't. So that's why we only chose those where that we can add most value. And so there we identify three group of challenges. Number one is awareness. So everyone care about AI and now, and but still a very small group of people who care about responsible AI. So there, that's we through creating shows or events or publication or member education, and we want to really just to raise the awareness for responsible AI. And the second gap we see is around talent. So where that's in the space that when you look at responsible, and naturally that you need somebody who really know about AI, but in the meantime and have knowledge about ethics, legal compliance, and even cultural study, and so all that. So in general, that you are looking for a new type of interdisciplinary type of talent, and which in the market and it's a rare type of talents. So that's why we also are building a lot of educational program, coaching, and peers facilitated group, and then to really help to foster the emergence of a new responsible specialists. The third type of gap we see is the solution gap. When you just want to research, development, use of AI responsibly, and naturally that you need to just identify the right solution or tools to make AI, for example, protect the privacy, and can take a PI data out of your AI model training, or just enhance your AI security, or just remove the bias out of your model, and all of them will be translated into tools or solutions. And a lot of time that's a lot bigger investment to go to the AI building large language model, but very small compared with that very small portion goes to responsible AI tools and all that, where that's through our expert network, and we help innovators to build and scale their responsible AI related tooling and solutions.
Hmm. Do you think there's a it sounds like amazing work that you're doing in the larger organizations that are creating the real huge large language models? Is there perhaps a kind of a struggle between an organization's desire for commercial gain at the expense of responsibility versus the starting from a responsible perspective that might, for instance, produce more abstract commercial opportunities or harder commercial opportunities to reach? Is there a kind of a challenge there for organizations that are almost exclusively driven by bottom line growth? Or do you feel that even the larger organizations can see that from a holistic perspective, the having commercial gain at the expense of responsibility is, without sounding too hyperbolic, an existential threat to humanity? Is there a challenge there, do you see?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are, some of those perceptions, um, are based on assumptions and where in reality a lot of larger organizations start from beginning also want to be ethical, want to, because in general, if you just see that for the larger you are and where that's you are under more scrutiny and you have a larger customer base, naturally many of your customers are looking at you, and then if you don't just behave ethically, naturally that's there are your customers using their dollar to vote, and so that's why a lot of larger organization now and also from beginning want to be ethical, want to, but a lot of it go back to this three gaps we identify, and a lot of them that's just are in a race with other competitors, and so then that's they probably invest in the AI side. They were even not aware of the responsible AI related consequence, and also how to redesign the process to make it responsible. Good example is that in many industry that's no matter big or small, to build an AI model or team, you have like a 30 some engineers. You have one person or zero person who know about ethics, and then finally you can imagine that this AI system may not be strong in ethics, and then you go back to the leadership, then they didn't really just try to make the AI system not ethical, but just not aware that from beginning only an ethical team and with the ethical expertise, then you can build a system with ethics. And then if they don't have this awareness, and naturally they didn't resource that way, and then the final result is that maybe it's biased or it's not secure or it's against a certain culture, certain group, certain identity, and then that was a consequence that they probably didn't foresee, but only after they see the result, and then they went back to see that because we didn't resource properly, because the leadership didn't have that awareness. So that's why we want to just really from the raising awareness, educate leaders, and then they can resource properly. And when they want to resource properly, find right expertise, then we just bring the right people into their team. Interestingly, that we have observed a lot as well, and we're in many of the organization naturally. And the one way to just build their AI expertise is to have, for example, a chief AI officer, and then a lot of time that they didn't go out to look for, they just change the person who used to be the IT head or chief data officer or another very in their mind as a top leader, they are the same thing. And so with this kind of mindset, the person who just didn't have real AI background start to lead an AI strategy, and naturally if there's no additional resources, external resource come in, naturally you just bring the old mindset into the new thing and think that it will work naturally, and then it will not. And because I always see that the most important business model for an organization now is your AI model. And where that's if the person who lead your AI is not the real AI person, naturally your AI model will not be good, and then your business model will not be good. So that's another part. The third part is, again, go back to the challenge we seen there. That's for larger organization, and naturally that's they have an existing portfolio of product, and then large base of customer they need to serve now. To make AI responsible, naturally that you need to potentially bring in, like for one large system, you probably need 20 to 100 responsible AI tools. Some you internally you have, others you have to procure outside. Think about a team building a system to need to procure 100 or even more responsible AI tools from different platform and with different payment system. How much barriers for them to just do AI responsibly. And so if we can just help them to identify, here are the right tools, you don't need to search, and here are what they are good at, then you can procure from one place. Naturally, the barriers for adoption will reduce. Naturally, that it will help them to just do AI responsibly with low cost and high better result. Yeah.
Hmm. It's fascinating, isn't it? Because is it possible for humans, any human, to not have ethics? I'm just thinking, I see that some people could not prioritize their ethical principles or the moral principles or their ethical framework for life. But we humans arguably have an innate ethical inclusion inside our hearts and minds. And so I wonder whether there is a kind of separation from sometimes from an engineering perspective of we're building this because we're meant to achieve X by Y date. And the separation between that and what they would consider would be best for them as a human, from a human perspective, or us as humans. So from an interpersonal or intrapersonal or an extrapersonal perspective. And that kind of deprioritizing of our ethics, our values, could be the thing that's going on rather than them not having any. Or is it the case that there are some people who build from almost a psychopathic standpoint, that are building without any regard to the impact on humanity? Which is it, do you feel? Is it more of the former, or is it worryingly more of the latter? How is it happening that there's a separation from the human engineers being unethical? Is that accidentally or on purpose?
Yeah, I think in general, to speak about this on an abstract level is not easy, and because each occasion is very specific, and in that specific situation, and then the driving force is very different. So that's why when we are working with our stakeholders, we always trying to just number one, ask them whether you have adopted a responsible AI framework. So you as a human or as an engineer, being ethical, not ethical, you have ethics, you don't have, it doesn't matter. But if you already adopted, responsible AI framework, and then that's adoption, allow or ask you, request you to follow certain principles. And then that's need to be translated in your behavior, corporate behavior, individual behavior. Naturally, that human factor is not that important anymore if you have different guiding principle for your professional life. The second part is that we also, ask our stakeholders whether you have established the AI governance structure. So you have a principle, naturally you need to enforcing that. And if you have a principle which cannot be enforced, there nobody will just be accountable for anything. And then adopting a principle doesn't mean anything. So to establish effective governance structure, where that's at the most senior level to the working level, and then that can be really translated into the operation process, and the data and all that will tell whether the principle are being adopted properly. And the third part is, we ask them to do regular reporting. And so that's, again, using those mechanism or, the checklist. And any organizations can avoid those, individual behavior to impact the whole organization in the ethical, not ethical way. But at the individual level and in general, that's there are always bad apples, and where that's how that we can just minimize that those kind of action. And some of the AI 2030 members have been working with large group on like a AI negative list, meaning that so something that humans should not really just allow AI to dominate. And those, for example, control of mass destructive weapons. And so there are areas that, we just, need to have a negative list and commonly being accepted by wider group, and then make sure even there are bad apples, the consequence can be really mitigated, to the level which is controllable, and that is just mitigate the risk. So there, for me, that is in general is like we understand human nature. We also understand people behave differently. We also understand the economic man as the main economics assumption of a corporation, and how corporation should be driven by commercial return as the guiding principle. And those are when those are given, and if we want to organization to behave ethically, responsibly, and there are a lot of things that's we can just implement, and that can really mitigate the potential risk and negative impact to humanity.
Excellent. And so do you think there should be some consequence in terms of for the bad actors, or the when people don't, for instance, follow the first two steps of having an ethical framework and ethical principles in place, and then secondly enforcing them with the guidelines actually as a process? Do you think between the second and the third point, or even in the third point of the reporting, should there be some form of consequence through legislation? Should there be laws that need to be written that can be therefore proven to be breached and therefore have consequences accordingly? Or how do we police the actions so that if a report, in the third point, if the report is produced and they have fallen beneath the required standards, how much more can we apply a consequence for the actions that are negative?
Yeah, so there that I think, in general, I think, for legal system where that this is a social negotiation, and when the problem is becoming serious, naturally, the calling for legislation becoming stronger, and naturally the lawmaker will just start lawmaking process to address that. And if there's no request from the public or push from the public, naturally that doesn't happen. And in general, if you want to guide the behavior change, and then you have the push and pull. So the push part is really as what you mentioned from the regulation. And when we work with our stakeholder, and then we are looking for the pull side, where that's through voluntary behavioral change by voluntarily adopt those ethical responsible behavior that can really just because it's voluntary naturally, then they voluntarily adopt it naturally, they have also incentive to keep their own words. And then from the regulation side, that's there are certain area which need more urgent regulation, and other areas may need give market more time for market to evolve and continue to show what the technology is capable of before you tell the technology cannot enter into a certain area. So there, from the lawmaking process, I think we have seen from EU AI Act, and also from several US state level legislation process. And many, legislation are really just going to defining the new rights related to humanity or consumers, or and there that's because of the introduction of AI and many of the rights which human have against other humans, and they need to be revisited, with AI. Does, do humans' rights are sufficient, or are human rights being sufficiently defined? And, a lot of time you find not. So that's why lawmaking need to enter into those space to define what rights, what new rights that humans should have. And so that's why I think, from technology side, that's I had a lot of conversation with, different regulators, and a lot of them are at learning phase where that they are very open to just, build a sandbox or working, in an incubator or pilot with the market participants, trying to understand, by introducing an AI agent or introducing, AI function into, a K process where that certain, customer right being impacted, and then they want to understand better and before they just really stop things. But definitely when you look at the EU AI Act, there are already some good clarity, and there for players in EU, operate in EU, and other countries are looking at different basically based on their own situation. And from my first comment, is as a social negotiation, if the society are not pushing hard, and then the lawmaker really don't have any it's not necessary, and then you will see the legal or legislative processes really differed from country to country.
Which is interesting because one could argue that Asimov's law of robotics, the laws of robotics in terms of robots should cause no harm, and I wonder whether or not they could be very easily modified to, or even not even modified, but applied on a global perspective from an apolitical perspective. So it's actually completely kind of non-partisan, human level construct. And I wonder whether the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from the UN through to the EU AI mandates are specific and exact enough. And I can't help but wonder whether there is something that that there is, it goes beyond politics and beyond country by country.
Absolutely, there are a lot of such efforts going on. Yes.
Yeah.
And earlier that we participated in United Nations Global Digital Compact, global consultation, and that's the type of efforts which is at the UN level, and where that trying to just define more global. It's like the UN SDG at a global level, provide guidance regarding what is the desirable future for all, how we can protect human and our environment for the survival of humanity. That is more broader, for all areas. And in the AI side, that from I think the Global Digital Compact is a very good efforts, and then trying to when we just or reviewing all the documents, participate in the conversation, and a lot of those discussions still trying to understand, and nobody try to really enter into this space, tell everyone that we know humans are doomed, or we know humans are doing everything right, or it's always you will hear different voice from different background, and with different evidence be presented to the table, and people hear, listen to each other, and find how to enhance their own understanding, and then trying to just come with those principles which can be globally effective. And if when I was still with World Bank, I remember I was involved in the UN SDG goal 13, and indicator, like 2 indicators in those discussion design, and giving feedback. And just when you look at the process of defining, agreeing on goals, defining indicators, how long does it take, how many people involved, that that's from the AI side, and especially from the global, globally accepted principle and all that, the process just started. And then UN is one of the agency. There are a lot of other agency as well, and also nonprofit, including us as AI 2030, and trying to also offer our perspective, where that's we agree that at some global level of principle are very important, but a lot of time that's we need to also look into the differences as well. And a good example is that I contributed to framing a book, and which is we are looking at different ethics, how different ethics impact are being impacted by AI. And if you think of AI is being trained with data, and a lot of data is are created by, for example, English language, and for non-English speaking culture, and what does that mean? And then a lot of English speaking language represents, for example, one religion. And what about the after AI learned about from English to just understand more this religion over the other religion, so then for other religion, what does that mean? So there are a lot of those questions that you cannot easily to just say this is in the, for example, Western world accepted so-called global principle to be applied directly to the global population, that will have even worse consequence than even without a global principle.
Wise words. Okay, well, this is absolutely fascinating. I'm very glad you're doing what you're doing. Keep up the good fight. For people who are watching this, who want to find out more about what you're doing, can you just give a quick promo of the links that people should go to? Where should they find you? How can they get involved? What can they do?
Yeah, definitely. And our website is very simple. It's ai2030.org. And if they want to get involved, and then there's a membership button. Click there, apply to be a member, and then we can just review and get back to you.
Great. Well, I'm going to do that immediately.
If anyone want to follow, and they can also just find me on LinkedIn, and we also have a show called AI 2030 Show on both Spotify and also on YouTube.
Great. Well, bearing in mind I'm the CEO and founder of an ethical AI firm, I would love to be a guest on that. So I'll also join the ai2030.org site as soon as I stop recording this. So awesome. Xiaochen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Brilliant.
Thank you very much.